Yesterday we did see DCI officers visiting his current office to probe claims that his top aides finance chaos in anti-Ruto protests by youth demanding accountability and good governance. And also there's been talks of petition to actually get to impeach the deputy president. Before we went for a break, I wanted to ask you questions in regards to, did he overstep and not, work within the confines of what he's supposed to work with as far as being a deputy president to the president is concerned? Did he overstep that particular boundary and say, okay, gotten into someone else's territory?
I think as deputy president, there's emotional intelligence that you need to survive in that position, because yes, you are elected on one ticket with the president, but you are not equal with the president. And I think this has always been like an issue of contention, because I remember even in the Uhuru regime, those are some of the things that were putting them in loggerheads with Ruto at that time. Just the fact that if your deputy begins to, consider themselves co-president or just equal at your level, then, there's a problem. As much as, yes, all regions, of course, when you're on the campaign, you're galvanizing support from the entire Kenya to ensure that you get the votes required to cross the threshold and be elected president. But then it doesn't mean that once you're in office that now, we are equals. That's why one is president and the other one is, the deputy. So it's just a matter of knowing your place and having just the wisdom to play your part until the time is right. If you remember, for Ruto and Uhuru, during Uhuru's presidency, their first term was more or less pretty smooth, not so much hiccups. They had a lot of camaraderie, and they were sort of in sync. But we started seeing, gaps after, elected after the second term. But here is regarding Gachagua, it's barely 2 years, and already, you're already seeing cracks within just the presidency itself. You can already tell that it's like they're pulling from different directions, even though this is not something either of them has spoken about openly. And one of the things I noticed that was very interesting for me was the very first day, I think this was after the second day of protests, when the president issued a press conference, I think at State House. The deputy president issued another press conference at State Lodge, Mombasa, and I was like, what's happening? Why would the president and the deputy president have, different statements on the same day about the same issue? It's not necessary.
When that happened, what exactly did that communicate to you as a Kenyan? For
me, already it communicated that there's a rift. You're speaking from different scripts. Your visions and your goals are there's already misalignment. Because ideally, you should have been with the president, not saying anything, just supporting. Because of that was a difficult time, I can imagine, for
so we need to see a very united front when it comes to
yes, I would have expected a united front, but just the fact that the president was issuing a statement in Nairobi, the deputy president is issuing his own statement in Mombasa, already tells
after
you.
The president, Nairobi.
Yeah, it already tells you there's misalignment somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to read something, and this has to do with Honorable Gathoni Mushomba. And I'll allow you to comment on that. Someone thinks bringing a tribal card against the DP and leaders of Mount Kenya will diffuse the rot in the Kenya Kwanza government, as highlighted by protesters. Presenting an impeachment agenda against the deputy president, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, is a decoy to shift the attention from allegations of massive corruption and open inefficiency on various issues flagged by Kenyans, now accusing some of us for rejecting finance bill and plotting to discipline us in every is very welcome. Will you punish the thousands of Kenyans who openly rejected the Finance Bill 2024 from all over Kenya? Now, an impeachment plot on DP Gachagua is welcome. We may have no sufficient numbers in Parliament to push back, but we have the people of Kenya with us. Accusing us of opposing government on taxation on matters of avocados via KRA, eatings, deductions is a fallacy. Any sober MP will defend voters against such punitive taxes. Even in the future, such bills will face some resistance. Some of us have refused to join the club of public fund looters and swindlers in the name of lawmaking. For now, those drafting the impeachment and whipping MPs alert us when you are ready for the monkey dance. And I want us to come back to this. An impeachment plot on DP Gachagua is welcome. We may not have sufficient numbers in parliament to push back, but we have the people of Kenya with us. This is something that you had mentioned. You said, of course, how many people, when it comes to parliament, do you have? But this is Gathoni Mushomba saying, we understand, we do see that when it comes to numbers in the House, we might not have that. But
which is true.
We have the people.
No, you see, while it is something that can be achieved both in the National Assembly and the Senate, to marshal the number to impeach the Deputy President, it is a reckless move. A reckless move in this sense. There is, while it is a legal process, it is deeply political. But again, that doesn't rule out the fact that it is legal, where one can seek legal redress in the courts of law. Let's even assume we've succeeded in impeaching the Deputy President, and then he seeks redress in the court of law. Let's even say that even he fails in the in the High Court. He goes for appeal. He fails even in the appeal, and he even goes to the Supreme Court because it is matters of national interest. And then he fails. It will take at least 1.5 years. So there will be 1.5 years of Gachagua playing victim, right? And then Ruto happens to be a president who's been marked by the Gen Zs with all their numbers that can be converted into a political juggernaut against him. And then you have Kalonzo, who's completely refused to join the government and has about 2 million votes behind him, solid as the night. Then you have Gachagua, who has about 6 million votes in the entire Mount Kenya region, or about 4 of his own Kikuyu-speaking voters. I think it is reckless. And you have Raila Odinga, whom you can't tame and you can't trust. Raila Odinga is a man you can't trust to sell you a second-hand car. It will have issues the moment you buy it because he's not an honest political player. Now, when you are the president and you find yourself at playing around with such possibilities, then the best thing is to tell your guys, hey, hold your horses. The deputy president might be reckless or whatever he is, but here we are still surviving. We have the numbers and we can ignore him and go on. So the president is doomed if he impeaches Gachagua. The president is doomed if he doesn't impeach Gachagua. And that is one thing he has to live with, because you impeach Gachagua and then you have 1.5 year legal process of making Gachagua martyr. Seeking sympathy at home and solidifying the mountain is been unsuccessfully so far trying to solidify. Okay, so does that mean that if at all that particular process begins to some extent, he's going to now start, the people are going to now start rallying behind him? Ask yourself what is one of the reasons that made Ruto to be a friend of the people of the Mount Kenya. It is largely the persecutions he went through in the hands of Uhuru. People couldn't believe it. As in, how did a man who supported you so strongly, you pay that kind of goodness with the evil you met against him? Okay. Now, if the same is reversed, which is the same card Gachagua is trying to play here, he will play the victim. And I can tell you, mark these words, that if you dare impeach Gachagua and he takes you through a legal process of 1.5 years, and months to election is where you conclude the process, he will be owning the Central Kenya to a point where anybody who does not toe his line will not come back in the parliament in 2028. That I can tell you for sure. Okay, Honorable Ruku, and I know you say it hasn't been presented to your table, but this is the thing. If at all, is this the best way to go about it, this particular process? For the goodness of the country and also just the coalition itself, that is the Kenya Kwanza coalition?
I think you have pushed me a lot. Let me say this. One, we have sanitized the cabinet. We have seen half of the cabinet has gone home. And there is a new cabinet. vetting process will be starting tomorrow. We have seen security also has been sanitized. We have new IG, we have new DIG in charge of administration police. So the security areas, sector is being reorganized. We also saw a reorganization and promotion in military 1 week ago. So the key arms of government, there is reorganization. In the coming week, you see reorganization in Parliament. The leader of minority has gone to be the CS Energy. So we are expecting to get a new leader of minority. Okay. The chairman of PAC committee in Parliament is now CS Finance. So we expect to get another chairman. So in this, we'll see reorganization of committees in Parliament. The leadership of House will be reorganized. That is a key arm of government. Okay. Because there are 3 arms of government. We don't expect changes in judiciary. That has happened. But there is an office called presidency. Presidency is president and the deputy president. I think it's right also to say we'll be looking forward to sanitization of presidency. If there is some dirt within that area, something needs to be done. How it's going to be achieved, how it's going to be done, whether it requires some reorganization or not, I don't know. But if CSs have gone home, if security officers have gone home, if we have seen reorganization also in military, and we'll be seeing reorganization also at the level of cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries in the coming months. Has that shaken the political environment or the political of the country in terms of political stability because CSs have gone home? Some of the CSs have gone home. Kenya is still moving on. Kenya government is still operating. So it means we may say that there will be earthquake in the Republic if this and this happen, of which probably there will be none as such. Who said that Uhuru and William Ruto will not be speaking from the same side in the coming month? From where I sit, I see, and I will not be surprised to see Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto sharing a cup of tea together, shaking hands and working together. If that happens, please be assured that Mount Kenya region will be solid, and that move can fire anybody. So, what I think is this push and pull of our deputy president should calm down. Should calm down. Let William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua iron out their issues somewhere under the tree, somewhere in State House, or they can go, I don't know, in Madera or in Sugoi. Let them iron their issues. But if Motai Kaiga, Governor of Nyeri, Motai Kaiga, if we continue, pushing the way he's pushing, then there may be more serious consequences which are not desirable to anybody and even to the country. So for me, I think it is important for the deputy president to write a law, to look for the president, let them have a cup of tea. They can even have that cup of tea in Sugoi. They can have a cup of tea somewhere in a farm. I don't know which farm. Let them talk like brothers. Okay. This push and pull is not good for the country. Is not good for the political landscape. And if it continues, probably the most likelihood of casualties, there's likelihood to have one casualty, because President William Ruto has many options.
Okay.
At the moment, Raila Odinga is in government, inside the bedroom. Okay, so I will not be surprised to see Uhuru Kenyatta also inside bedroom.
The bedroom.
Okay? If that happens, then there will be proper sanitization of the presidency in a very quick, in a very shift.
So from
manner.
an insider's perspective, the presidency has a little bit of division.
Yes, things are not as they were, that's for sure. It is open secret. Every Kenyan know that there are some issues. About the issues is what we don't know.
Okay.
But there are issues which are making both the president and deputy president, and as we are close to both of them, not comfortable.
Okay.
So those issues, they can iron out, both of them. If the push and pull continues, president has many options. He has many cards to play. He can bring in Uhuru Kenyatta on table, and if that happens, then you can be sure there will be serious political repercussions. Yes.
And this is what Jeffrey could say is Raila is already in the bedroom. Uhuru Kenyatta could be coming in.
I think for me, Brian.
Let me come to you, because I want to wind up with this conversation. Ta, you have a response to that?
I don't agree with an aspect of what he said. I don't entirely agree that Baba is in the bedroom, as he says. And then I also feel that the ongoings are like a distraction from...
So you agree with Wamushomba that this is a decoy to...
That's what it appears to be, to shift the conversation from the issues that, Wananchi are raising. And the issues on transparency in governance, the issues on accountability in governance, the issues of our public debt, because you see the conversation seems to already have shifted, and now we are talking about impeachment instead of talking about how we're going to manage public debt and just the many issues that we had raised. How are we going to I don't know. I don't think they've passed the new appropriations bill yet, based on the changes on the finance bill, because they'll still need to do that. But those are the conversations we should be having. Like, where are we going to raise money from, and how are we going to spend this money? What are the key issues we want to spend money on? How are we going to manage public debt? Because those are the things that affect Mwananchi, the cost of living. It's like this whole thing now is taking precedence over the things that affect Kenyans. Yet, for us, whether Gachagua remains in office or not doesn't really matter. If our issues of cost of living can be sorted, if our issues of taxation can be sorted, and I think the conversation should not move from that. There's this new, again, controversial bill, I think, of the livestock something bill. Those are issues that are now, like disappearing.
So
because
you feel the most important issues that the nation should be focusing on being
what we
watered
should
down
be,
by,
yes, what we should be focusing now on is transparency and accountability in government. What resources are we getting collectively as Kenya? Where are they being used? How is our public debt being managed? The money we are borrowing as Kenya, what is it doing? That's where we should stay. And then after we resolve that, we can move forward to other things. These other things, they're sideshows, it's politics. And unfortunately, it's taking precedence and taking over the national conversation from, what came out of the protests.
Noted. Final remarks, because I'm totally out of time. Let me start with you, a minute, Kimani.
Mine is to the Deputy President of the Republic. I may choose to interlope and tell him, I think it is time for him to have a very serious reflection on who he is as the Deputy President of the Republic, as well as how he relates with the fellow members of the government, especially from his region. and he needs to retrace his steps and get it right with the president and with other elected leaders within his party and without. I also feel it is the right time for the president also, as my fellow discussant here says, it is the right time for him to also reflect deeply, having come out of the issues of Gen Z. He needs to reflect deeply and ask ourselves where we are as a nation and where we are headed. Okay,
thank you so much, Kimani, and Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, of course, and Vivian Ta, for your continued engagement in this particular conversation on the state of the nation and the future as far as the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, is concerned here in the country. Whether he's going to be impeached or not, that is a subject of debate and something that we are going to be following closely to see where it takes us. And I'd love to take your feedback, but I'm totally out of time. But just one, John the King says, let whoever trying this story of impeaching the DP president dare Rigathi is not a person to play with, watch and see. Okay, ni kama government wanapenda maandamano. This is Cedric Mushila. We, the Gen Z, will fight for a deputy president. Tell us what crime for him to be impeached. That is Ole Danny Ndiema. Thank you so much for making time and being part of this conversation here on New Dawn. It's always a pleasure and an honor to have a conversation that shapes the agenda of the day and also bring you up to date with what you're waking up to as far as news is concerned. My name is Brian Amwai. Let's do this again next time. Do have yourselves a lovely day today.
DJ Blackie, K24 TV, Mix Master. Like a boss.
Yo, when it comes to playing the best music videos, we've got you covered.
Love me, Jaja, love me tender.